They say the Wentworth building on Ashford Street has been vacant for 11 years. The landlord stopped renting it out after the third tenant disappeared. Not moved out, not evicted. Disappeared. As if the building simply swallowed them. My name is Daniel Marsh. I'm a freelance journalist, and 6 weeks ago, I moved into apartment 4B. I want to tell you what I found. I want to tell you why I can never go back, and I want to warn you if you ever see a listing for a place that seems too perfect, too quiet, too cheap, leave the page. Close the tab. Woke Hawaii. Because some places are not looking for tenants. They're looking for something else entirely. The perfect apartment. I found the listing on a Wednesday morning in October. Third floor walk up. Exposed brick. High ceilings. City views. $800 a month in a neighborhood where studios ran $2,000. I thought it was a scam. I emailed anyway. The landlord, a man named Gerald Holt, responded within minutes. He didn't ask for references. He didn't ask for a deposit. He said, "The apartment chooses. Come see it first and tell me if it suits you." That phrasing should have stopped me cold. It didn't. The building was beautiful in the way that very old things sometimes are, with a beauty that felt slightly wrong. Like a smile that lasts 1 second too long. The lobby smelled of cedar and something beneath it I couldn't name. The elevator was an old cage model, iron latticework, the kind that shows you every floor as it groans past. I counted 4 floors. 4 floors with identical green doors. All closed, all quiet. Gerald was waiting for me on the 4th floor. He was a small man in his 60s with pale eyes and the careful stillness of someone who had learned not to make sudden movements. He unlocked apartment for a B without speaking, then stepped aside. The apartment was exactly as photographed. Large windows flooding the space with gray October light. Original hardwood, a kitchen with black tile and copper fixtures. I walked through each room and felt, genuinely felt, that I had been here before. Not in a comforting way. In the way you feel when you walk into a room and realize someone has moved all your furniture 3 inches to the left. I signed the lease that afternoon. Gerald handed me 2 keys on a plain ring. 1 brass, 1 a dull gray. I didn't recognize. "The brass is for your door," he said. He said nothing about the other one. The first week was uneventful. I wrote during the days and slept early. The building was silent. No neighbors, no footsteps above me, no creaking pipes, just a deep, pressurized quiet that I started to think of as the building holding its breath. Then on day 8, I found the journal. The previous tenant's journal. It was wedged behind the radiator in the bedroom. A small, cloth-covered notebook, with no name on the cover. The handwriting inside was cramped and sloping, the ink varying in pressure as though written under different emotional states. The first entry read, "I love this place. I feel like it was made for me." The last entry read, "It knows my name, not Daniel. My real name, the one I've never told anyone." The name written at the bottom of that page was mine. I told myself it was a coincidence. A previous Daniel. I photographed every page of the journal and sent it to my editor. A woman named Priya who had seen everything in 20 years of publishing. She called me back in 3 minutes. "Daniel," she said slowly, "this handwriting is yours." I had never written in that notebook. I was certain of it, but Priya was right. The loops of the G's, the sharp cross on the T's, the way I always wrote the number 4 with an open top. It was identical. I started paying attention after that. Small things I had dismissed. The mirror in the hallway that sometimes seemed to show the room a half-second behind me, like a lag in a video feed. The sound that came from the wall near the kitchen at 3 in the morning. Not pipes. More like a very slow, very deliberate breathing. The window in the living room that I would find open in the morning even though I never opened it. Even in the cold. Even in the rain. And the smell. It started faint. Something like river water and turned soil. And it grew stronger every night. By the end of the second week, I could smell it before I even reached my floor. The door on the 5th floor. I had counted floors in this building. I had ridden the elevator 4 times. I had seen 4 levels of green doors. But on the 15th night, coming home late from a research meeting, the elevator stopped at a floor I had never seen. The button panel only went to 4, but the cage had stopped, felt stopped at a 5th landing. The door in front of me was not green. It was the gray of old stone, and it had no number. It had a lock that matched my second key exactly. I stood there for a long time, long enough for the elevator to give a small mechanical shudder, as if clearing its throat. Then I walked back in and pressed 4. I called Gerald the next morning. He didn't answer. I went to the address listed on my lease, a storefront on Pennock Avenue, and found it vacant. The windows were soaped over. There was a number hand-painted in the corner of the glass, the same number that had been in the journal, the same number I had been dreaming about for 2 weeks without understanding why. That night, I called Priya again and told her everything. She was quiet for a long time. Tensa said, the 3rd tenant, the one who disappeared. I looked her up. Her name was Clara Marsh. Marsh. My last name. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the kitchen with every light on and tried to think like a journalist and not like a frightened person. I made a list of facts. The journal, the gray, the 5th floor, the mirror lag, the breathing in the wall, Gerald's disappearance, Clara Mars. Around 4 in the morning, the breathing in the wall stopped. For the first time in days, there was absolute silence, and that, somehow, was worse. Because I had gotten used to it. I had started, without realizing it, to find the breathing comforting, like a heartbeat. I had been listening to it every night, the way you might listen to a sleeping person beside you. The building was not haunted. I understand that now. A haunted building is one where the dead linger. This was something else. This building was alive, and I had been living inside it, the way a Thor lives. Inside a mine, Permitti observed, slowly, being understood. The gray key burned hot in my hand when I closed my fingers around it that night. Not painfully, the way a phone feels after a very long call. The 5th floor I went up on a Sunday. I want to be clear about that. I chose to go, no one made me. That's the part I've had to sit with ever since. The elevator stopped at the 5th floor. Before I pressed anything, the gray door was waiting. The key turned easily, with no resistance, as though the lock had been waiting for it so long it no longer needed convincing. The room behind the door was my apartment. Exactly, my apartment. Same layout, same windows, same copper kitchen fixtures, but all of it was older. Decades older, the wallpaper peeling back in long strips to show earlier layers underneath. Different patterns, different eras, one after another, like geological strata. On the kitchen table was a stack of notebooks, dozens of them. I recognized the cloth cover of the one I had found behind the radiator. But there were more different colors, different sizes, all of them with the same cramped handwriting. All of them mine. The last notebook in the stack was empty except for one line on the first page. Now you understand what you are to this place. I ran. I want to be honest about that, too. I took the notebooks, all of them, and I ran. Downstairs I found on the other side of a door I hadn't noticed before, past floors that went below the lobby, below the street level, lower than made any sense. I came out through a side door into the alley and I ran without stopping for 6 blocks. I am staying at Priya's apartment now. I have read every notebook. They all tell the same story. The perfect listing, the gray key, the journal, the 5th floor, in handwriting that is mine, from a person who was me, who made the same choices I made, who came to the same room, who read the same line. None of them end past that room. There is always one empty notebook at the bottom of the stack. There is always one line on the first page. And after that, nothing, as though the writer stopped, as though the writer is still there, inside the building, still writing in their mind, but not yet on paper. Epilogue. Went back once more. I told myself it was foreclosure. I stood across the street and looked up at the 4th floor windows of apartment 4B. Someone was standing in the window, looking down at me. They were wearing my coat. They had my posture. That slight forward lean I've always had, like I'm always about to ask a question. They raised one hand, slowly, and touched the glass. I looked down at my own hand. There was a small circle of warmth on my right palm, like a phone that's been held for a very long time, like a key that had just been turned. Primera, wa late Hawaii. I have not gone back. I have not looked at any apartment listings since. I sleep with lights on, and I wake at 3 in the morning, and I lie still and listen for breathing in the walls. I don't hear it anymore, but so many times in that long quiet between 3 and 4. I think I hear something else. Not from the walls, from somewhere closer. Something learning the sound of my name. Something learning how to say it.